Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of Cookies Enabled. Today is another review, and today we're actually going to be reviewing the Polaroid ID922 streaming action camera. So stick around and let's learn something new together. Okay, here is the box. We're going to unbox it here. Here we have the Polaroid front-facing ID922 streaming action camera. I'll zoom in here so you guys can see. It says 4K, waterproof, shockproof, Wi-Fi enabled, and dual screens. And we will look at the side here. It's going to just kind of repeat itself. Wi-Fi enabled, 4K, rubber casing, 3 feet of waterproof. Then it's freezer-proof, dust-proof, and shockproof. Meet the camera that's life-proof, durable for whatever life throws at you, yada yada yada. It does take a class 4 micro SD or higher. It does not include in the case, so you're gonna have to buy one on the side, and those aren't super expensive these days, luckily. And then as you can see here, it does have the 2 screens, one on the front, one on the back. You cannot use them simultaneously. I will explain this again later. There are 3 buttons on the top: the power/shutter button, menu, and mode buttons. And then you just got a little microphone hole on the front. There's also one on the back as well. And then here you've got your little stand as well as a bike mount and the helmet mount. These are kind of the same thing. They're interchangeable parts there, but it is still pretty handy to have. And again, this is just kind of showing us what we already know and what's in the box. And let's go ahead and open this sucker. So it kind of opens like a box, like book kind of way here. Our first thing here is to stop and check this out and download this manual so you can make sure you're doing it right. Really, that's just so you can get the software on your phone. Here's another like little warranty card. That's awesome. Here's the Polaroid manual, and this is definitely important. Definitely good to have and helpful at breaking down kind of exactly how to get through the menus and how to plug it in and get to everything. It does actually have really good visuals in here and shows you what to look for and how to get to your SD card and charge the device and whatnot as well. And here we are. So as you can tell, it's got the camera right in the center. You've got, I think, the buckle pieces and whatnot up here. Here's for the bike helmet. And there's a little plastic cover. You got to pull this off. Okay. And here we are. Here's the camera. Oh. Now I have been using it, so if it looks dirty, that's why. I put it back in here so I could do the test. So very simple, super simplistic. It's really super tiny in comparison to like most GoPros. I would say it's about the same size as a GoPro, maybe just a tad smaller. And then in here, obviously, we have our, here's the clip for the bike helmet. There's a little magnet in here that you can screw into the bottom. And this will allow you to, stick the camera to different magnetic surfaces and use it to hold it there. Here is for the helmet, and then you have your bike mounts and clips down there as well, which are pretty helpful. And there's really nothing underneath it. I'm pretty sure it does say, please do not return to the store. If you have any problems, call this number. Oh my goodness. Call the number. So that's what the box says. It doesn't have a ton going on it. One thing I did notice is that the box does not tell you how many megapixels this camera is. And I did have to dig through the Polaroid website to find it, but it is 18 megapixels. So we're going to break down what the 4K looks like and how that goes. But that was the unboxing. We'll detail the rest of the camera and the features in just a minute. Okay, next up I want to show you guys how this thing boots. So let's go ahead and we'll hold down this power button for about 3 to 5 seconds. And voila, we have our nice little screen popping up here. Now this little guy, as you can tell, does not have the best resolution. He is really hard to see exactly what you're taking pictures of. And when you do take a picture, it kind of flashes it on the screen just to kind of preview it for a second there. But as you can see, it does have some options. We can record, go to menu or mode, and if we hit the center button on the top, that is the menu button, and that gives us an option for either the selfie mode to be turned on or off, change the video settings, the system settings, as well as Wi-Fi settings. So the selfie camera one, if we hit the capture button, this activates the selfie camera on the front, And now we can see that it is showing us the selfie camera, but as you can tell, the back camera is not doing anything. And this also does this in picture mode as well. If you switch it to the front camera, you're always stuck with that front camera. So to switch it back, you hit the menu button and it goes back to the main screen, and now you're back to normal again. So kind of interesting how that works. You can actually change the video settings, and I'm going to show you that. So if you go down to video settings, and the very first thing here is resolution. I'm not sure if you guys can see that. First one here is resolution, and we're going to hit that one. And right now it's in HD mode, so it's 1920 by 1080, or you can do 3840 by 2160, which is the 4K. And when you switch it to that one, it does improve the video quality quite a bit, but again, it's only 10 frames a second, so it's going to be a little choppy. Now, metering and whatnot, white balance, you can adjust those. I don't recommend touching those. It's either way too strong of a white balance. If you're in a really dark area, it's kind of overwashing things. And if you're too bright an area and you try to dial it back, it's almost too dark suddenly. So I let the system kind of do it itself. System settings is pretty self-explanatory as well. You can change the date and time, the language, you can reset the memory and or the entire device, or you can just clear the memory card as well, which is a handy option that you don't have to just pull it out of your computer just to do that. And then the Wi-Fi settings is the last one here. This allows you to connect it to your phone or computer, I guess in that case. You can turn this on, and then it'll give you options for making sure everything's connected, and it tells you where your ID is and all that other stuff. And this is very helpful. It is a little finicky, and the program for the Android phones is a little slow and a little choppy, but it does work, especially when you're not near a computer and you don't want to pull the SD card out. This app will allow you to see what's on the device wirelessly, and you can edit it, delete it, do whatever you need to that way. So that way, if you're not near a computer and you don't have a way to plug it in, you can still see the photos you took and the videos you took by connecting it to the Wi-Fi. So pretty cool. Okay, so picture mode looks almost identical to video mode. There's really not much of a difference unless you hit the menu. As you can see, now we have camera settings, system settings. Everything else looks the same except for camera settings. And if we go to camera settings, this is where things get really interesting. So you have resolution, self-timers, burst mode, metering, and if I'm not mistaken, I think it's white balance. Oh, auto review, as well as white balance. So auto review, obviously that's how long it stays on the screen afterwards after you take the picture. You can adjust that. Metering and burst modes are, do you want it to take 7 pictures at once or 1 picture? And, their self-timer mode is also helpful. Resolution is really what I wanted to show you guys here. They really break this down. It's always in the Ultra HD mode, and let me tell you, these pictures really do look nice. And HD mode isn't bad either. Then there's MD and SD. So you can really dial down exactly what resolution you're looking for. I did have an issue with close-up photos. This has a really hard time with the macro, essentially, trying to figure out exactly how close you are to what you're taking a picture of. So sometimes it's blurry, sometimes it's not. So the burst mode isn't a terrible idea, but in most cases you'll be fine. And let me show you how this freezes. So if I take a picture here of my setup, it'll show it just for about a brief second there, and that was the photo I just captured in Ultra HD. And then let me change the setting here, and we'll try HD, and we go back to our main menu, and we'll try this again here. And then I will pull these pictures and show you guys these at the end so you guys can see the difference between an ultra high def and a regular high def photo, because there is a difference. But that's the menu side of things for our Polaroid friend here. And like I said, so far it's actually pretty impressive, I gotta say. So in these first few videos here, the top left corner is going to be the 4K 10 frames a second. This is me just taking a walk down the street, and on the bottom right side of the screen you'll see the HD 30 frames a second, and you can definitely see a difference here. And even with me just standard walking, it's kind of bouncing up and down. The image is pretty stable for the most part, but it looks way better in the HD format for sure, and you'll definitely start to see this trend as we progress. Now driving looks a lot better than walking, and that is our next clips here. This is city driving, and again, 4K's upper left-hand corner and bottom right-hand corner is the HD. As you can tell, the HD still looks a little choppy, but really pretty good. Now, this is at normal frame rate. There is not any adjustment of speed here at all. But as you can tell, I'm getting more detail from the upper left-hand corner in the 4K and less detail with the HD. Now, here's a freezer test. For these, I did actually speed up the center part where it's sitting in the freezer. It sat in the freezer for a little over a minute, and both in 4K and in HD, and obviously HD's in the bottom right-hand corner. And this was just a test. Can it actually be frozen? Does it actually handle cold temperatures well, or does the lens get all frozen and foggy? And surprisingly, it did not have any issues with this test. The lens did not get foggy at all. It did when I was doing some of the water tests, and I'll explain that a little later here. But yeah, it did actually hold out in the freezer both times in HD and in 4K. Next, we have the drop test. And the drop test here did really well. I accidentally swapped the images. 4K's bottom right-hand corner this time. Again, no stuttering of the image, no weird glitches or anything. I did slow it down a little bit so you guys could see a little better. And now we're going to the water. So again, 4K's upper right-hand corner and HD is lower left-hand corner, or I'm sorry, right-hand corner of the screen. So again, you can actually see through this water on a normal day. And here you can see the leaves really, really well in the 4K. You can also see the sunbeams coming through the water, and this is well below the 3 feet margin. It's probably closer to 5 feet underwater in Pretty Lake, Michigan, in the Pretty Lake. And as you can tell, it did really, really well both in HD and in 4K. And underwater, you don't really see the stuttering frames as bad. Now, the next image I have here is of the tadpoles underwater, and this is to show how much detail each one is capturing. So again, your HD is bottom right-hand corner, and 4K is upper left-hand corner. And in the 4K, you're definitely going to see way more detail on the plants and the fish, and you actually can see a little further distance-wise. But with the HD, it's a little foggier, a little less clarity and detail. You can still see the fish and everything just fine, and your frame rate is way higher. It looks way better. And these are at normal speed. I'm just kind of moving my camera around the shallow end there, and it came out great, I think. So in these first two pictures, you're going to see pizzas. Obviously, the upper left-hand corner is the Ultra HD, bottom left-hand corner is HD, and you're really not going to see much difference even in normal light. There's a little more feedback on the HD picture than on the Ultra HD, and there's a lot more clarity when you zoom in more on the photos. Now in the next one we see my set. I took this photo earlier as I was demonstrating the menus. Again, you can't really see too much of a difference. You can see a little anti-lacing with the HD image versus the Ultra HD. And again, a little more color popping out of the Ultra HD as well. But overall, I think these are really good photos. And I did take a few extras that I'll post here and there, just kind of showing you guys what it looked like during different scenery and playing in the water and whatnot, and it came out really super good. I gotta say, considering I'm just kind of pointing and shooting and not even looking at the screen, I think these images came out looking great. Okay everybody, now I was unable to try the camera out in a pool or use it on a bike or on a bike helmet, unfortunately, but from the videos that I have done, I can strongly suggest that the HD video is definitely the way to go. The 4K isn't bad, but with the 10 frames a second, it just looks so stuttery, and unless you're trying to get extra colors or detail from your shots, really the HD is going to be the better way to go there. So for a budget camera that's under $100 that does actual 4K video and ultra high definition pictures, this is actually a really good deal. Now, I think I paid $60 for this camera, or my partner did anyway, and I know it ranges anywhere from the $40 to $80 mark depending on where you go. So I'll post some links in the description for you guys to take a look if you're looking to purchase it. Now, if I had to give it a cookie rating, you know, from 1 cookie being the worst, 5 cookies being the best, it's probably a 4 out of 5. The battery really lasts way longer than most GoPros, even when you're recording in 4K the majority of the day. I pretty much just let this on the dashboard and let it record for hours and hours and hours, and it still had plenty of battery left for pictures later in the day. Okay, so if you're looking for a cheap 4K camera, this really isn't a bad option. Unfortunately, the 10 frames a second really wreak havoc on those 4K videos and really kind of makes it look like a moving GIF instead of an actual high quality video. So if you're looking for those 30, 40, 60 frames a second at 4K, this is unfortunately not going to be the camera for you. But if you're looking for just really good HD quality videos at 30 frames, definitely the way to go. This is a great camera, and it's also, I think, again, a little smaller than most GoPros, and it can do almost everything that a GoPro can. I threw this in the freezer, I threw it in puddles, ponds, all kinds of places, dropped it a few times, had no issues with it. The only main issue was that sometimes the lens could get a little flared when there's a lot of temperature changes. If you're putting it in cold water and it's a really hot day, it may get a little foggy, but that was the only issue I did notice. Now, again, this is a little different than our other videos, but I want to say thank you for everybody for tuning in and making it all the way to the end of the video. Don't forget, we are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Reddit, so drop us a line there and let us know what you guys think of the Polaroid. If you guys have one, or if you have a GoPro or something similar, I'd like to know, so drop it in the comments below. And I know I learned something new today, and I really hope you guys did too. Tune in next week for even more videos. And again, I'm Will, your host, signing off. Hope you guys have a great day.